Hey, Greg Simmons, my wife Meryl.
Hi.
So, Meryl, thank you for coming today.
Sure, you're welcome.
I'm glad you're willing to come and talk with me. Can you tell me a little bit about what brings you to counseling today?
Yes. So, I have an issue at work that probably has come up more than once. It's like a routine thing. So my job, take care of dorm girls, high school girls, they generally graduate and leave. And oftentimes those same girls, after a year or two, will apply to be RAs in the dorm.
Okay.
It's a hard transition to go from being their house mother to then becoming their employer. And the issue that I'm having right now with one of the current RAs that was a former dorm student, she has a best friend who is currently a resident and a sister who is currently a resident, and then now I'm her employer, her supervisor technically. So it's just a very odd transition of roles.
Mm.
And the problems that I'm having, which we already talked about with her in the interview, and the concerns that all the staff had about how those relationships would work once she became an RA. So it's things like how to set boundaries with her friend, her best friend, I guess you could call her, how to set boundaries with her sister, all while being an RA and having, confidentiality about problems that girls might be having, and at the same time having her sister and her best friend coming to her about those same problems that she knows stuff about that she can't talk about with them.
Yeah.
So I guess most recently, one of the issues was one of the other house mothers was doing good nights. It was like 10:30 at night, and the friend was in the RA's room at the time when she was supposed to be in her own room, and texted the house mother to say, hey, is it okay if I stay in here and talk to the RA? And the consensus was, no, it's not okay. And all of the house mothers are feeling like the RA, Laurel, should have said to her friend, it's 10:30, you need to leave my room now, you should be in your room. But she didn't do that. She let Bella, the friend, text the house mother to get this permission, and it felt sort of passive aggressive in a way. So the thing that I'm struggling, that's just like one small example of those types of issues. There's
Okay.
other ones like leaving messes at the desk and that kind of thing, where normally as a dorm student I could say, hey, don't leave your mess at the desk, that's rude. But as someone on my staff team, I'm struggling with how to say that to her without being a mother figure anymore, but also not wanting to damage that relationship, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I hear you.
Yeah.
So you gave me a lot of information there. Can I
Yeah.
kind of summarize it back to you? So I
Sure.
want to make sure I hear you right.
Okay.
What I'm hearing is, so you are a dorm house mother,
Yes.
and I'm sure that comes with lots of struggles,
Yeah.
working with teen girls. And you have a unique situation. Is this situation unique to this year? No, you said it's not. You have a situation where girls that used to be your charges then turn around when they graduate, they come back or asked to come back and serve as RAs, where now they're sort of not your employees, but they're your co-workers.
Co-workers,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're your co-workers. Okay, and so there's the relationship changes in lots of ways. And you've got one such situation right now, and her name is Laurel.
Right.
Okay, and Laurel used to be a student, and now she's turned into an RA, but she still has a sister and a friend
Mm-hmm.
in the dorm.
Right.
And this is like a good friend of hers?
Yes.
Okay. So, and then you've had conversations with her about that there's got to be boundaries, the relationship has to change in certain ways.
And she was very receptive to it. She asked for tips. She wanted to learn how to do better.
Okay, all right. So she's open to it, but this may be a blind spot for her, or this may be a spot where she's not recognizing
Yeah.
where her responsibilities lie. Do I hear that right?
Yes.
Okay. So, what are the feelings that are up for you around it?
So the RAs don't get paid to do this job. They get room and board.
So room and board is their payment.
Is their payment, yeah.
in
It's
lieu of
in
actual-
exchange for working, they get room and board comped, basically, on their student accounts. So, I mean, it's, thousands of dollars worth of compensation, essentially. But it's not a paycheck.
Okay.
So, the fear that I have is that relationship, when it goes from being a house mother to a supervisor, how do I get rid of that motherly thing when the relationship is still, it feels like, well, this is my house, so it's my rules. Because she's not getting paid, she's essentially living in my house, sort of. The actual dynamics of the relationship don't really change other than me, like how I interact with them. And that's
So, it's more about what has to happen for you in terms of maintaining this relationship. How long was she a student in the dorm with you?
Laurel came as a sophomore, so 3 years.
Okay. And so presumably you have a relationship, a pretty close relationship, or a strong bond with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you wouldn't have asked her. So obviously you see qualities in her if you asked her to be a supervisor in RA.
Yeah, I know that she's capable. I just... Sorry.
It's okay.
It just feels like there's a lot at stake. Because I don't want to affect the relationship that she has with her sister. Or her friend. By making her work environment unpleasant. And the whole, no paycheck thing makes it hard in terms of retention of RAs. Sorry.
No. And by the, can I just ask for clarification, you mean that it's hard to keep, ask them and they don't like to come back, or?
It's a really hard job. We ask a lot of them. They have to set a very adult example for the students when they're not that far away from that stage in their life anyway.
So they're presumably 19, 20 years old.
About, yeah.
Yeah. So they're virtually not adults yet.
Right.
But they're asked to do an adult role.
And I don't have a lot of control over that part of it, and I never will. I don't want it, but it's just hard, that's all.
Yeah, I hear that. So the issue you're struggling with, if I'm hearing you right, is there's a lot of love in this dorm. I can see that you have relationships that now have to change, and you're concerned about it sounds like you have a lot of concern for her or other relationships, and that your job is going to force you to possibly damage or change those relationships in ways that you don't feel comfortable with. Can you tell me more about that?
I guess my fear is that because the RAs are so young and they're not very far removed from it, that they don't have the wisdom to know when to speak and when not to speak about certain things. So when things are tough, like if the staff is dealing with an issue that's difficult and they need to be confidential about it and not talk to other girls or disclose any information at all, how do I trust my staff to do that, especially when there's a sister and a best friend involved, when like that's her support system. So who's she gonna complain to about it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So yeah.
So who do you have to support you?
My husband. And I have a great staff. They're all awesome. The other house members are great.
Do you feel like you have enough support?
I do. I don't think the house mothers always step up in the moment when things come up. Like I sort of mentioned the messes that Laurel leaves at the desk. In the moment, I would like for and have asked the house mothers to say something right then and there, like, please don't do this, or it's better if you clean this up now so we, you know, have a tidy example for the girls kind of thing. But they don't always do that.
Yeah. And so you're in a situation then where you have to choose how to treat them. If they're an employee or a coworker or a charge of yours, you need things to run a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like,
So
yeah,
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to be like that mean boss, that bitchy boss that's like griping orders at everybody. Even when I need to, because it sounds stupid, but like I'm the only one getting paid to do this job. Everybody else gets room and board. So I don't want to make a work environment for them that's not enjoyable, essentially. So sometimes I just don't know how to talk to them about things I need done because I'm afraid of being a bitch.
And if you were a bitch, what would happen?
They don't want to work there anymore.
Okay. So this retention becomes a big piece of it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that that's a really tough spot to be in. So you mentioned that this is kind of a routine situation. Have there been situations in the past where you've had a girl that was a dorm student, then come back to be an RA where it's worked well?
Yeah, that happens more often than not. I guess this is the second year in a row that it's happened where there's been an RA that isn't catching on to how to make it different. Usually I don't have to do anything. I don't have to say anything normally. They just do it.
Yeah.
But certain ones.
What feels different? If you think about those successful ones in the past.
I guess perhaps maybe the ones that it's an issue with haven't actually let go of the dorm in a way. like last year, we had an RA similar situation that she just hadn't grown up. Like she hadn't grown, become independent in a way that most dorm girls are after they leave. She sort of was stuck in it, and looking back on it now, I think she came back to sort of figure out, or maybe return to a space where she was cared for.
But maybe she fell short of actually doing the job she was supposed to do. She was getting what she needed,
Yeah.
as opposed to. And is that your judgment of the current dorm student, Laurel, or the current RA, Laurel? Do you think she's?
No. It feels slightly different. Like she is very independent and always has been, has always sort of reared against the dorm. Like she never wanted it to be her landing spot. She always would go, to people's houses and stuff to get away from the dorm. But she's here now, and I guess I just fear that it's convenient for her. So maybe she's not buying into the whole process
Right.
of how to do it.
So I hear that. So it sounds like you've got a situation where you're either going to be stuck with an employee / coworker that's not pulling her weight, not doing it right, and you're stuck then with resentments, and then the relationship is damaged by your own resentments. Or you run the risk of confronting her and saying, I need you to pull your weight. You're not a dorm student anymore. You're the adult. You need to set the example.
Can I use
Snap
those
out of
words?
Absolutely, they're not mine. Anything else come up around that conflict around? So it's around the relationship with Laurel, your relationship with Laurel, but either way, you're
Not necessarily. I mean, it's yes and no. I guess it's more about the general relationship between my position and an RA position. Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, it is definitely connected.
So if you can think of a role-playing scenario, like, can you play this out in your mind to where you can see yourself getting what you need, which is for a conversation to be had with Laurel and protecting that relationship as best you can?
Yeah. Just don't want to.
Just don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we are out of time, but has this been helpful for you to talk about it?
Yeah. I know what I have to do. I just have to find the courage to do it.
Yeah.
But talking about it helps me.
Good.
Say it out loud. Sort of like practice.
Good. Okay, well, I want to thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.